2 years after Texas became a state, and even before the establishment of Hays County, in 1847, settlers would gather on Sundays along the San Marcos River to listen to the sermons of the circuit-riding preachers who came to the San Marcos settlement on a regular basis. After a number of floods, the circuit riders moved up the riverbank at what is now the corner of Colorado and Austin Street, which is now LBJ, and eventually the townspeople erected a structure at this location as seen on this 1881 bird's-eye rendering of the city. This small building served as a school, courthouse, and church where Methodist, Baptist, and Presbyterians met together each Sunday to worship and fellowship. In 1853, the first pastor of our church, J.H. Zively, along with 16 members, officially established the First Presbyterian Church of San Marcos, meeting in the one house of worship in the settlement. Our church founders established a permanent home for our congregation in 1897, when a plot of land was purchased with pledges from the members. The original pledge document starts off by stating, "The Presbyterian Congregation of San Marcos, having raised approximately $1,200 for the erection of a new house of worship, we, the undersigned, are members of the congregation, promise to pay the several sums set opposite to each one of our names." The document then contains the signatures of the head of the families who pledged the money to build the new structure. Today, we may dismiss what would appear to be paltry pledges of $10 and $15 to build a church, but it is important for us to put the economic times of the 1890s into perspective when we review this list of the families who pledged for the support of the activities of the congregation. Keep in mind that the signatories to these pledges were 10 years into the grinding economic depression that made the subsequent depression of the 1930s almost pale in comparison. And in 1897, the date of this document, the unemployment rate in Central Texas was estimated at 25%. The monthly wage for a high school teacher in 1897 was $11 per month. Between 1890 and 1897, crop prices dropped by 90%, and people were losing their farms and their homes. Money was worse than scarce, but our forefathers persevered and stayed the course. No matter how bad things got, they did not abandon their vision of constructing a house of worship to serve the needs of their family and their community, to worship and praise our Lord. But congregational records show that those families not only built a church, but they also supported the work of the fellowship through sacrificial giving to missions, as well as other programs, including Christian education and evangelism. This is the ledger of our church in 1915, showing the level of support for the church programs for the month of August. This seems like small money today, but I can assure you this was big money in 1915. A perfect example of this sacrificial giving is recorded here in the giving records of a widow in 1905. Though she could not give much, records show that she first pledged, then backed up that pledge by giving monthly to support the programs of her church. This is the structure that the forefathers of this congregation constructed from hand-hewn cypress wood on the very plot of land upon which our current church is built. This 1897 structure boasted the tallest steeple in the county, and it was indeed a beautiful building, and one that the whole congregation was proud of, as evidenced by this photo of some of the members of the church taken in front of the church building in 1912. However, one night in 1927, the Flatiron Apartments, located where the Blue Goat restaurant is today, and as seen to the right in this photo, caught fire and burned all night long. Church members from around the city rushed to try and save their precious church as the water slowly ran out. At midnight, the fire jumped across the street, catching the church on fire. Using wet blankets and anything else they had, the members fought the fire until dawn. The first light of the next morning confirmed that the efforts of the weary congregation were not in vain. Though the church building suffered significant cosmetic damage, the church was still serviceable, and with the exterior repaired within months of the fire. However, the tall steeple, which could not be reached by the fire pumps, had caught fire and was destroyed in the fire. The steeple was never replaced. In 1951, the 1897 church building was replaced with the new fireproof brick structure in which we worship today.